Welcome back to SehoPod, everyone. I'm Gilhooly, and today I'm joined by
Gilhooly.
If you're unfamiliar with Gilhooly, or my relationship with Gilhooly, specifically friendship, to clarify, with Gilhooly, you can keep that in your lap. It's also your microphone. Yeah.
Am I a good boy?
This has been a very highly anticipated conversation to record. I think this is episode 23 or something.
Damn.
And
I got the Michael Jordan episode.
Yeah, you did. This is either 23. Yeah, this is probably 23. And just about now, last year is when I first started. So, Michael Jordan Day, Joe Day, and 1 year SehoPod anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you. Joe is a very good friend of mine. Joe and I both come from Northvale, New Jersey. Joe has... Flip it, don't... You can get the microphone on that side.
Getting used to this, it's my return to YouTube.
Yeah. So, this is Joe's return to YouTube, by the way. Search up Joseph Gilhooly if you want to know what the background is there. Joe and I went to high school together at Northern Valley Regional High School at Old Japan. And I had been doing theater since the 7th grade, so 7th and 8th grade. Joe got cut from the musical in the 5th grade.
5th grade, that's lore.
And after that, he did not audition again in middle school.
That's true.
Then we got to high school, and then we both were in Into the Woods, the musical, together.
Goated show.
What a great time. During that time, Joe and I got to know each other, but we were not quite close yet. We were friends, definitely, but... and then COVID happened right after we performed in March of 2020. We went to shutdown, lockdown, and then sophomore year, we were in hybrid school mode. We still did theater. Joe was in the fall play, which was called...
The COVID Project.
The COVID Project. And then I was not in that, and that was a virtual thing. And then the musical for the spring was A Chorus Line, which first was going to be a virtual undertaking. And then sometime during the timeline of things, they decided to record it. So it was like a movie of sorts.
It was a movie.
Yeah. And sometime during January or February of that school year, so January, February 2021, in rehearsals on Zoom, I don't know, I think I was messing with Joe, taking photos of him on Zoom and putting funny filters. And then we just began to talk about that first, and then about life, and then very quickly, that spring going into the summer, we became...
It was pretty quick.
Very good friends.
Yeah, there was a specific day that I remember. There's this one scene that our two characters had. I won't go too much in. It's a great scene, but it was just us. We were working with our director. We were filming it outside, and as crazy as this show process was, it was a pretty emotionally intimate scene between our two characters, and just working through that scene, and then we talked about it after, and that was kind of when our friendship really started to grow.
Interesting. I didn't think about it that way.
I always kind of think of that day as a huge day, in not as the starting point, because I think it started a little before that, when we were talking, but that's just a day that jumps out to me. I don't know, just because we were both so passionate about what we were doing, and we were both just having fun and operating on the same level, and it was just had a wavelength connection. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that kicks into I mean, even thinking about junior year when we were going into the fall play, like we were quite already kind of established as a duo, I feel. Going into Out of the Frying Pan, that is. And what a fun year. Doing that and then performing in the SpongeBob the musical, with I as SpongeBob and Joe as Patrick, which even more solidified this duo-ship that we got going on.
Yeah. We had a bunch. We had Toby and Jura's Year in Town we did together, which I loved so much. I'm gonna, like, not just because we did it in high school, but I'm gonna direct it like here at Boston College, and just like things come full circle. So we got one show up here at Boston College, She Kills Monsters, play about Dungeons and Dragons. So we've done a number on our
definitely
theater shows.
Yeah. So senior year, Joe got into BC, Boston College, early decision, and that was kind of always the goal. That worked out great. And then I was looking through regular decision schools, and then I don't know if I called you or texted you, but I was like, I think I'm going to Boston College.
Yeah, no, I remember we were texting because like you were going through some of your options, and then you're just like, I was like, what's it looking like for you? And you're like, I think it's BC.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then you finally like made the decision, I think like a day after, and then people were making posts, like you made your committed post.
Yeah,
this is the craziest thing.
I specifically remember Zach Falken's stories.
Oh my God.
He posted posts and like did this crazy collage. That was fun.
That was funny. He
Yeah.
called it like Skinema College. That's oh my God.
That was a stupid joke. Yeah, I remember, like, when I committed to BC, it was not super momentous for me because I had been, at that point, denied from a lot of other schools. So it was like getting into BC and committing was more of like
crazy, because who denies this guy?
No.
He's undeniable.
No. But I'm very glad I'm here. Yeah, this is where I was meant to be, I believe. But so getting into BC and committing was like a relief for me, but definitely like one of the things, because I didn't know much about the school. I just knew of, like people like family, friends, parents, friends' kids, people like your sister, people who had gone from our high school, that it's a great school. People really love it. Mm-hmm. It's a great area. Boston, I want to be somewhere like here. Again, but didn't know a lot about the school, so definitely like going in with you was like huge.
Yeah.
For me, and then I knew Sahaj, of course, and Ali, and I was definitely really close with them two as well going in. And yeah, and then end of senior year, great time, right? Great time.
Yeah. Going into college with you was just like, I was still so nervous coming into college. Probably, everybody feels this way, and like just starting new things is just like really, really nerve-wracking. And this isn't a noble thought, but having Seho here, like we were in the same orientation session.
Yeah.
And
which I forgot about until the night before.
Yeah. And then because you were you're talking with Mark, right?
Yeah.
And you were just like, because Mark was like, Joe's going, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And like I was still so nervous, but I was hanging around you, and I met my freshman year roommate when we were having lunch or whatever together. He kind of just like sat down with us. So he's kind of been here every step of the way, and we're here now.
We're here now.
So.
All that to say, Joe is one of my very best friends in my life.
I reciprocate. I almost said that word.
That's okay. Joe, what have been the highs and lows of your life.
Sometimes when I get asked highs, it's silly, but like I hit this home run in like a 12U tournament, and it was the greatest thing ever. Like, I'm super serious.
I believe you.
It was like, it's again not a noble answer, but that was sick. And
That's sick.
I worked all summer to like just hit bombs, and I was always like okay at baseball. I was never great, and I love the sport. I played through high school, and I was kind of just like the team mascot. But you can attest to that. But I hit a bomb in this tournament, and it was the first pitch I saw in the tournament, and we were playing this team from Vegas, and I just went berserk. I got a like talking to from my coach after. He was like, "Yo, you can't like go that crazy again." And then I hit another one, and then just like mean mugged everybody. It's just like, so that was really, really fun. And there's like been better things that have happened to me, but that's just off the top of my head something that like was just awesome. And then lows, COVID was a really interesting time for me. I think I was really strict on myself on like being very like isolated and like wearing the masks and stuff like that, and that kind of built up for like a year. And there was a point where I just wasn't really hanging out with people, and I was just crashing out. And it like eventually corrected itself, and it was okay. But that was a rough time. And I was also like, I was injured. I had a like fractured spine and like a bone bruise on my knee. Yeah, it was from like fall 2020 to like end of winter, beginning of spring 2021. It was just weird, and like Zoom classes and everything. I kind of wish that like we had that element of high school not that way that it was. But yeah, you roll with the punches and stuff happens. But I did learn a lot from that time period, and I'm still grateful that it happened. So
yeah, nice. Why baseball?
Baseball is just awesome. I can't remember like why
how baseball.
How baseball. My dad played baseball and football, and he was just like an athlete, and I think he kind of just put me into those two mainly. And like I expressed interest in basketball, and I was a bit of a sniper, but like I was a little fat kid, and I ran out of energy pretty quick, so I kind of just stand in the corner and coach would pull me out. But baseball, I don't know. I was just always like, I started with t-ball, and I always just was like, it was so fascinating, like hitting the ball and like catching, and it just like is so like nice to watch a game. It's just like the most beautiful sport to me. And about till like 4th, 5th grade, baseball and football were kind of like neck and neck for me. Like I was interested in both at the same time, and then football just kept getting injured, and then one day I was just like, this is enough, like I'm done. And I was kind of like I played some basketball too in between then, but once I got to like high school and throughout middle school too, I was like mostly into baseball. And yeah, like I had a lot of great friends that I still have that I played baseball with, and it's just such a satisfying like team sport. It's just, man, that's about all I got for that. But I love baseball. Yeah.
There you go. That's awesome. Tell me more about growing up in the Vale, in Northvale, because you had quite a mountainous journey going into high school.
Yeah. Growing up in Northvale is just the best town ever. It's such a meme, but like there's just everything you need in that town, and like the people are just fantastic. Growing up in Northvale, I was like a class clown type, but like I kind of didn't really get my act together until like 7th grade-ish, and I still was like, you know, a little bit of a misfit toy, but I started to like kind of academically lock in. 6th grade, I was like just like failing classes, and I was just like, I can't be doing this. So yeah, that's when I kind of started to lock in a little bit. And yeah, Northvale's just, I don't live there anymore. I live in Paramus, which is like about 20-25 minutes out from Northvale, but it's like just everything. Like I go back there, you know, when I can. I work as like a basketball score operator for a youth basketball league in Northvale, so I'm still like connected with the community and still have, you know, a bunch of friends that live in Northvale. So yeah, I love that place.
Yeah, man.
I could be more specific, but it's just what's coming to my head.
Yeah.
You know?
How were you able to, like you were saying, like class clown, failing classes, heinous activities, like how do you think you were able to grow through that?
Yeah, I think there was an element that, like, you know, still continued into high school, and I think I'm trying to get better at it every day, of like just trying to impress people and fit in by like trying to make people laugh. And I think that's I try and use humor in my life. I don't think I'm the funniest person in the world, but sometimes I try and make people laugh just to like make their day better, you know, something like that. And I think I would just like take it far. Sometimes like teenage boys just laugh at like the stupidest things sometimes, and then I would see that and be like, oh, okay, that's what people laugh at, and like just be a disruption. But I think I was raised very well and had I mean, I wasn't like a, you know, horrible kid. I think I've always had a great heart and like been a good kid, but I think how my mom raised me kind of helped me kind of see some things. And once we kind of got into like the 6th and 7th grade period, we would sit down and like do homework together, and like that classic like mom and, you know, like doing the math homework with you and like all that stuff. Yeah. I was kind of like, all right, we need to kind of reel it in here, which is good. That was one of the most pivotal moments of my life. I think that moment, that like 7th grade moment, my sister jokes about it with me all the time. She's just like, you just locked in 7th grade, like you were an idiot before then. And then like coming to college, I think was the biggest change too. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about your relationship with your mom.
My mom is my goat. She has always been there for me since day one, quite literally brought me into the world. My like parents are divorced, and I'm with my mom, and she's just the absolute best. Like she's taught me everything. There's just like no words to encapsulate everything that she means to me. And I, you know, keep in touch with her every day, or at least, you know, I try to. Some days I miss, I'm like, damn it. But yeah, she's just taught me how to be a caring person in the world, an empathetic person. And I like work with her now. Like during the summer, she works as a behavior analyst and program coordinator for kids with learners on the autism spectrum, like middle high school aged. And I started to do that over summers right after graduating high school, and it was a really cool intro to like, whoa, like what my mom does as like a job, and I kind of get to really see it. And that's been another really cool aspect of our relationship, because like we'll go to work now and talk about stuff in our workplace that like we just kind of witness and work through, and that's kind of just elevated things even more. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Going off of that, but also like asking about transition to college.
So special, man. This
is great. And you can. I should have said this stuff at the start, but
pampering me.
I know you can treat this as a conversation between you and I.
Cool.
As well as, you can turn back questions on me or ask me questions, but
Okay.
I'll probably continue to pamper you with questions. Transition to college. Because you talking about your mom reminded me of us having conversations going into transition to college where, your relationship with your mom was something you were very aware of and thinking about being away from your mom for the first time, but her also being by herself the first time. So I wanted to ask about that and just hear more about how that went and how that is going, but also more broadly transition to college. You were talking before about a lot of the emotions you were experiencing.
Yeah, transition to college, kind of just in brief, has been the biggest change in my life. I think I'm just in,
and that's for a lot of people.
Yeah. Do you feel that way? It's the biggest. See what I'm doing now? Do you think it's been the biggest transitionary period of your life and personality and whatnot?
Yeah.
I think it's hard for us at this stage for it not to be. It just I think back to even how I was in high school and stuff, and I'm not vastly different, but there's just things that have really changed pretty quickly, and life's just moving very, very fast. But BC is just the best place to grow and learn, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But yeah, my relationship with my mom, it was pretty much just us living together for 2 years, my junior and senior year of high school, because my sister, who's 2 years older than me, who just graduated here and was living in this building, she went off to school at BC. And that was a very interesting time. The house was sometimes pretty quiet, and we really relied on each other a lot. And then when I was going, she was going to be an empty nester, and it was the first time I was living on my own. I was I don't know what the hell is going on. So I think we were both kind of in that headspace of what, and we both had conversations about wow, this is the first time we're gonna be living alone, me ever, and her in a really long time, kind of ever. So that was a really cool and scary, but just interesting thing to navigate. And I would think about how she was when I wasn't home and stuff. But I think it's been so good for both of us, and coming home is just really, really great to reconnect, and no worries there. It's kind of just a reality of what it was. And I definitely thought about how things would go for us, and they've been going pretty well. So I definitely do miss her though when I'm at school, and I know she misses me. She tells me all the time. So yeah.
Good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What other things, whether feelings you felt or more specific things such as health or academics or social life, what do you think were the kind of the key parts or the most challenging parts of that transition, or what were the most easy parts of the transition?
It's hard to that's a good question. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what. I think I'm just my headspace in general is just pretty different. I think a thing that I've been focusing on, that I was trying to get better at last year, but I really, between coming to BC and moving towns back home, was staying in touch with people and really appreciating friendships. And there's still times now when I'm dude, I really need to do a better job at this. And I think I'm just someone who's operated in the past on forced proximity relationships, and how easy sometimes those can be to create. But when you get to school, college, it becomes just harder to do that. Realistically, it's just, I'm in the theater community here, and that's a lot of forced proximity, and that's I've had a lot of I have a lot of great friends, and it's not bad to have friends from forced proximity, but like making friends outside of that has been a struggle, and like keeping in touch with friends from back home is something I'm like, especially nowadays, trying to really be more cognizant of, because it's important. Like, you want these people in your life, and so that's definitely been a thing. What about you? I'm gonna flip your same question, and then keep doing that.
You're
sorry. And then I'll try and get some more creative questions for you. But I do wonder if there's, I know like your spirituality has kind of grown a lot since coming to school, and maybe you can expand on that, or another facet of change, like academics, or like relationships with like family, brothers.
Yeah, totally. The transition to college was not necessarily challenging for me. The transition itself was, I would say, relatively seamless. Relatively as in compared to, let's say, the vast majority of people, which I'm very grateful for, and I think that just is the way I am wired. But when you ask me that question about, like, has it been like the biggest transition for you? I'd say, yeah, definitely. And thinking about things that you just mentioned, like faith and, personal growth. Not that I, can really anticipate that, but looking back now, retrospectively, personal growth, and relationship with family for sure. I'd say for me, I always knew that I was a people person, and especially I think in like, for some reason, junior year of high school, I wrestled with this question of like, what is my passion? I don't know why, but then ultimately I decided, people are my passion. My passion is people. So I knew that, and I was aware of that, and I was like attentive and reflective to that. But coming here like magnified that. Yeah. Like just being, because where we live, very small town, everyone after a little bit. Mm-hmm. So being here in this environment that was so fresh and vibrant and new and a lot, bigger numbers wise, and, being in this whole new city, it just magnified that. And like more and more, like every single day I realize how much more I am a people person, how relational I am, and the way my heart is wired, the way that I think about my day-to-day, the way I envision the future. So that was huge. Faith was huge coming in, and the way I explained it to one of my OL friends the other day was that, and we had talked at Dairy Queen when we were home about this, but
that was a good time.
It was. The way I thought about it was, there were things, and I really attribute it to God's grace, like the end of senior year, where I just, like, my heart longed for God at a deeper level, and I knew I wasn't getting that, and I had not experienced that in years, where I was like kind of just like falling away almost. So I just had this desire to dig deeper, and I knew that Jesus was the answer for me. And the way I explained it to this friend the other day was that, like, I'm either all in for God or I'm not. Like, I realized that there was kind of no in between. Like, I had thought that I had found this in between space during high school, and that I was content with that, and I was at the time. And then no longer was I content with that. So in my mind, I had this kind of vision for what all in kind of could look like. Some things where there's this concept of abiding with God, and that primarily looks like just being in prayer with Him constantly, as well as reading the Bible, because we believe that to be the Word of God. But then also other facets like fellowship with other people and etc. So I knew those. I kind of had this vision of these pieces that would help me grow closer in my relationship with God. And then just made certain promises and sacrifices and try to walk in that path. And the way I say it is that God has always been good, but the more I kind of stayed on that path, the more I was able to experience and see for myself his goodness. And so yeah, that also is truly God's grace, the way I have been able to grow spiritually, grow in faith, and that becomes so much more core, or now the core to who I am. I say.
See how his answers are just like a TED talk and mine is just like word vomit? That's just, your way of words is so impressive. This is called Riz, by the way. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think your ability with like just people and just being like the mayor is just the craziest thing I've seen. You just know everybody. Like, I've never met someone in my life that's as good of like, I don't think the word is like networking, but just like being like this like mayor type. Like, I don't know like how else to put it. You're just so like great with everybody, and everybody loves you, and you just know how to like be with people on all their like unique levels. I've never seen that in quite a way. I've seen it in you. Like when we went to orientation, you were just like, you're like, I want to meet everybody, and like it was just wild to just watch you just like go. And I was like, I'm rocking with this guy. Like, hey guys, what's up? And I try to do some stuff of my own, but that was just a wild. That's just a wild thing about you that is just so special. Yeah, like it just carries in everything you do.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, how you use that in the future, whether it's ministry or what have you. So
yeah, totally. And if I were to return kind words to you, it's really like your presence in my life is very comforting. Like, you are so filled with, and like, even people who know you say this all the time, like it's very hard not to love you, and you are filled with a love and a joy and a like a genuineness for others. And I see that for myself, and that is even more confirmed particularly in the way that Timothy sees you, because he sees you in the same way, if not even more than I, like the way his kind of radical admiration of you, dare I say, which may seem like a joke, but like it's not a joke. Which maybe you.
This sounds like a fanfic.
Yeah, it does. Well, he wouldn't be displeased with that.
Yeah, no,
yeah, he would like that. But yeah. So I mean, in that way, I've been, I've very much looked up to you in that way as well.
Oh man, that was sweet. Now something I hate about you. No, that's for another time.
Yeah. How has your time at BC been? College
has been just like the best thing. I think it's been holistically like the best 2 years of my life. It's like, it's so weird. I was thinking about this today. Like, since college started, there's kind of that part of you that like for the rest of your life you're always going to be like longing for something to either be with like friends or family, where like when you're growing up in your hometown, like that's kind of all you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then once you go away to college, you're always either longing, at least just in my life, stuff you have back home, and then once you're home, you're longing stuff you have at school.
Yeah.
But like college has been so great, like getting to explore my passion for like working with adolescents and mental health has been great. I'm an applied psych major here, and like getting to, especially this year, like getting to take classes like counseling theories, like mental illness, that really kind of align with
what I want to do has just been something that's just been so cool. Like in high school, like I took a lot of classes I really loved, and there's a lot of teachers I really loved, but like the niche topics that like kind of or over like a whole class, that's really been great. And I think just my relationships have been like deeper as I've come into college with like home friends and college friends. I've learned to be on my own a little bit more. It's still a little scuffed. I mean, this kid went into my house yesterday. I pulled out a bag of chocolate chips and I was making spaghetti, and I was like, "You like what you see?" And I was like, "This kid's definitely thinking I'm gonna die." But you know, we're learning, and it's you know, I'm trying to channel all the nerves I have about like growing into adult life into like positive things, and yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm excited to see what the next year, 2 years of this awesome place and these awesome people in my life hold, and then kind of where we go from there. But yeah, college has been terrific. I really couldn't ask for much more. Would you say a similar thing, or?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Just two very formative and transformative years. Like I think very much. An issue I have, a toxic trait, so to speak, is at any given point in my life, I think I have it like all figured out. And I think recently I'm really like, I don't know, like God has humbled me in a sense that like now for the first time, like, oh, maybe I don't have it figured out, and that's very good, obviously. But just being able to be more aware of that I am like becoming, that I am growing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like just that feeling of growing has never felt like more rapid, and I feel like you can
totally
concur like in this period of life, just like kind of realizing like, oh my God, I'm on my own, like I'm making myself dinner and like doing my own laundry and like paying my own bills and calling my own utility companies, and it's just such a wild change. Not to switch too much, but there was just a question that sparked up in my head that I'm just really, I think it would be a good conversation. We were talking about it earlier, performing, like back to, we were talking about like, how we met and like really started to become close friends, although we did know each other like throughout middle school, just like not too much. So you kind of like theater wise, like lack of a better word, like stopped performing this year, sophomore year, and I kind of wonder like how, if that's been like a void or like a hole in your life at all, and how you're kind of dealing with that, and how that's been.
That's a great question, Joe.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Music performance art has been in my life since I started taking piano lessons in the 3rd grade, something like that. Second grade.
It's a long time.
Yeah, and then that was. And then there were many things that followed that. And still it hasn't gone away because, like I said, from 7th grade, context. Started taking piano lessons, was exposed to kind of church music world growing up. In the 4th grade, began to play the flute, or the 3rd grade, 4th grade. Then like did band in elementary school and middle school and high school. Did choir in middle school.
It's a little boring, but yeah, sure. I was never that kid.
Started singing more like for fun or like enjoying that, going into middle school. Theater started in 7th grade. Did that, all the way until freshman year. And I've told this to you, but the reason I stopped mainly was it was a time thing, and even in high school there were many moments where I was like, what if I did not do theater anymore during high school and like did other things? And I wouldn't like ruminate on that, but the thought, I mean, I'm sure the thought came up in your mind as well.
No.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay.
No,
so
once I started, I couldn't stop.
Yeah. So for me, but that thought, I mean, because I always have been and always will be someone who wants to do, I wouldn't say needs, but dare I say needs to do kind of a lot.
Dude, this is such a fundamental like understanding between the both of us that we've talked about like so many times about like how you operate and like are interested and involved with like so many things.
Yeah.
And I'm more of a person that like dives like really, I mean, obviously you dive deep into things, but like,
right. No, but you dive a lot deeper into something that you are like, because I feel like my personality is more of a of like a steady type, but you're like this is gonna sound like almost cheesy, but like you're like an artist in the way that like no, but let me explain. You're an artist in the way that when you like dive deep into, you know, any theater project or production, like it's really like the kind of like the other things, like, not to say that this is necessarily like a good or healthy thing, but it's admirable the way that you kind of like, dare I say, neglect other things and just like go really deep into this thing. It's like, that's, I mean, it's admirable in a way.
Yeah, it definitely has its pros and cons.
Right.
It is a big thing with theater, but also like with my like passion for like mental health work now, and just like if I get really interested in stuff, I'm very interested in tornadoes.
Yeah, I was gonna say tornadoes.
That's like I thought I had some problems when I first found that out last year, but like I do dive pretty like deep into stuff, and that's just been a cool thing to observe. We've just talked about that a lot.
Yeah, so even in high school I had that thought, but yeah, like it was such a I mean, I don't know, I mean, similarly to how it is here or anywhere else, like such a bubble in good ways and maybe bad ways, but yeah, I just really, and especially, you know, in high school where we did it, like, you know, every show, it's, you know, you're with the same group every year. It's like, you know, there's not like, for example, here where it's 4 or 5 different shows going on at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously really loved the community, really was passionate about theater and performing and really enjoyed it, and I thought I was decent at it and all these other things. Coming here, there were changes, you know, in my faith and in kind of like being more reflective on, or thinking ahead as to like reprioritizing my life. Mm-hmm. And so did theater, really enjoyed it. But honestly, it was, I maybe there was a thing of enjoying it less, but it was also that new things were coming up that I like enjoyed more and more.
Sure.
I don't know how relative to theater, but for those things in their own respect, like, for example, being, you know, I now, you know, having gone through 2 years of college and sort of like done a lot of different things and I've filtered through, I would say my 2 main involvements are campus ministry, Chi Alpha, Christian Club, fellowship, etc. Not etc. That's what it is. And photography. That being working here, doing that on my own, freelance. So focusing on just those 2 things, like that, those are 2 things that really emerged during my freshman year that I had not quite been exposed to.
I I saw like the beginnings of it. Like in high school, you would go in the rehearsal room and like take pictures. And,
right.
But it really started.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing. Growing up Christian all my life and parents being in ministry, but to have that level of constant Christian, friendship, it was something so novel to me. So with those two things kind of like on the rise, to be honest, like theater just kind of took a backseat, and going into sophomore year when I was like, I really want to be intentional about how I spend my time. Mm-hmm. Also, sleep and just health, more aware of those things, and just kind of Center for Student Wellness, Mind, Body, Soul. And you know that because you're a wellness coach now. Janine Kramer, director, freaking love her, dude.
She's the goat.
She's actually, she gave a presentation at our OL training, like the second to last day. I went up to her after. I was like, you have been my favorite presenter. This was my favorite presenter.
She's really good.
Yeah, I really want to get to know her.
She's really good.
I want to definitely meet up with her. The internet. Yeah, I want to definitely meet with her this summer or like as soon as the fall semester starts because she's just awesome.
Do you know how this is a sidebar, but like we met this past fall semester. She was like presenting in a class of mine.
Yeah.
And it was during like finals, and I was kind of just like tweaking out the whole day.
Yeah.
And she saw me and she was like, "You stressed for finals?" I was like, yeah. And then she was like coming to do a finals relaxation thing. And then she was like, "Oh, I'm going to this class," and I was like, "Oh, I'm going there." And then we just had a great like talk. It was just very casual, and then she like remembered me for the whole time. And, so that's kind of she's the goat.
Yeah, she's awesome. Mm-hmm. She's really awesome. Okay, anyways, theater took on to the backseat, and then summer going into this past school year was really intentional about how do I want to utilize my time. Yeah. And then so I just like kind of decided I would let that go for the time being. And at that time I didn't know if that was the whole year, all of college, just a semester. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed the school year. And honestly, like I one fear I had over the summer when making that decision was like, I wonder how much I'm going to miss being on stage in theater. And definitely when I see shows that definitely like that spark is reinvigorated. But I am also like very content the way I am spending my time and investing my energy into activities and things right now. So when you ask me about returning or like auditioning, it's like I have a desire, but it's not as great as my desire to continue to spend my time in the ways that I am doing now and the ways that I'm doing.
Yeah, and that's like, it wasn't the toughest thing in the world, but it, like when you first told me that you weren't gonna like do theater anymore, I was like, man, because we do spend time together like outside of that, but we do just like really click on that like theater level, and it was like a big component of like how our relationship started. But like I totally understand, and like that's like I'm so happy for you that like that's kind of how that's going. But he will be making a return at some point. That has to happen. I don't know if it's going to be in a full-scale show, but it's got to happen. This kid's he does like cabarets and whatnot, but we need one more show. I don't know how it's going to happen, but that just needs to happen.
Tell me how theater for you?
Well, why
did you you'll explain, but like why did you audition in the 5th grade and then why did you audition again in high school?
This is so fun. I was talking about this with my mom probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. She was saying like she thinks that there's like something around like 7 pivotal moments in your life that like you make a decision and it like changes the course of your life. And we both were like, oh yeah, that was for sure one of them. Like auditioning for the musical my freshman year. It completely changed. I'm doing theater here now, and I think I want that to be a part of my life for the rest of my life. I can't imagine it not being there in some capacity. 5th grade, I think, prior to like me getting involved in theater, I was always like a shower singer. I had no technique. I still don't have technique, a little bit more, but like Jesus Christ. And I just like went out for The Little Mermaid. I went out for Flounder, and they had to pick up Flounder, so I don't know how that was gonna happen. It was probably good in hindsight that I was not cast, but I was like kind of crushed that it was that the way do you know how they announced the cast list back in the day in Northvale?
Put it up on a piece of paper on a bulletin board?
No, dude, we all had to go to the person who ran it's like she was the music teacher, and she would have the list, and everybody at the audition went into the room, and she would read it out loud. And then if you weren't cast, you just like you would just find out there, and she'd read it out, and then it was horrible.
That's how we did it at Norwood. It was in like right outside the music classroom. There's a bulletin board, and it was just posted. Which that's like a traditional way to do it. I feel.
Yeah, that's fine. But like, man, the reading it out loud was rough.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And both me and my sister, she auditioned too, weren't cast. And we were both crying in the car.
I didn't know Jenna was a part of this too.
Yeah.
Yo.
It was a massacre of a day.
Oh my gosh.
My mom picked us up at the Northvale library, and we were both crying. And I was like, "That's it. I'm not doing this." And then I kept like saying to myself, I did talent shows like 4th and 5th grade. I did Uptown Funk and Happy. It was probably the coolest I've ever looked in my life. During talent show, the mic went out, and I had to like do stand up for like 3. Probably the best, coolest moment of my life. I kind of focused more on baseball, like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And dude, I wish I auditioned for Shrek. That show was so goated, and just to be part in any part in that show would have been sick. But going into high school, I wasn't really going to do basketball anymore. I wasn't really good at baseball either, but like at least I had way more of a passion for it, and I was like a little better. And I was like, I got to do something that's going to fill up that slot. And the fall, I didn't really do anything, and I kind of felt like a little lost. So I remember I was in English, and Zoe Fleur was sitting in front of me, and I was like, yo, should I audition for this thing? And she was like, yeah, like, and she hooked me up with everything. And I remember that like the night before something, I was watching the Into the Woods movie, and I was like, oh gosh, like I don't know what's going on. Maybe you remember that program that was like you could be like Into the Woods light?
Yeah.
I was considering that. Like I didn't know. I was so nervous and just like wanted to see what it was about. And like my mom picked out my audition song, and I was like, oh gosh, I have to learn this, whatever. And then I went and did it. I was so nervous, and I vividly remember walking out. It was like 2019, December-ish, something like that. And it just felt like something in my life had changed. I think
after walking out of the audition.
Yeah.
By the way, okay, picture this. So the way the auditions worked at the time was that every class had a time slot for like an hour. And everyone in the class watched each other audition in front of a panel of like, it was fun. Yeah. In front of like 5 people. Mm-hmm. And so normally there was an accompanist, and you just gave them the sheet music. You stood in front of the panel, and then the class was like on that side. So there must have been 20 of us freshmen, maybe.
Yeah.
So everyone's going, and then
I'm shaking not thinking about it.
Yeah, everyone's going, and then blah blah blah. It's great. And then Joe walks up, and like Joe's this underground guy. People are like, "Who is this guy?" And they're like, "What, Joe? Gilhooly?" And then the way he stood was,
oh my god,
he like stood with his arms like neatly at his side, like, very tense, and he wasn't even looking. You weren't even looking at.
I looked at the ground.
Yeah, his head was down. Like this was, if I could be standing, I could show you, but this was his posture.
Yeah.
But then like I'm telling you, bro, like an angelic voice just like emerged, and I'm telling you, like when you were singing, all of us were looking at each other, being like, what? like this crazy, like literally the craziest pull of all time. Yeah, that was all.
Man, that was such a wild day. I remember like I forgot to bring my sheet music back, and I was just like running, and man, it was such a wild time. And then like the callbacks happened, and I ended up getting like a pretty freaking big part. I got like Jack and the Beanstalk and Into the Woods, and it was like a lead in like this first show I'd ever done, and like the cast was just the Avengers. Like I was learning music with people that were just so like light years talented, and like that doesn't even make sense, but I had an experience with a lot of upperclassmen, like learning. It was Stephen Sondheim music, and like for anybody that doesn't know, it's like notoriously the hardest music to learn. And I was pretty rhythmically good because I played drums in middle school, but like, dude, learning this music, everybody picked up so quick, but I don't know how to read sheet music. I still don't, but I can learn by ear like way better now. And just being really brought in, that was literally the most special thing ever. And like that was the first time I kind of really felt like I was really good at something. Like by the time that process was done, and you know, people were telling me things and stuff, I just had, you know, a good deal of confidence in myself, and that kind of carried into some other things. And I've been kind of working this bit of a transition, but with theater, I think in high school that propelled me into really needing my confidence to shape around like other people's opinions of me. And theater's great, but there's just like sometimes some downsides that can come with it. And like with like high school theater awards, like that was a thing I thought about a lot, and that was not really like a thing that like happened for me. Like I got like one, you know, award from like a competition that was, you know, fun, but that like really did kind of stink when opinions weren't like super high. And like I was still learning. I'm still learning. Like it's, I think, been a big transition in college theater wise, to not look at it as like competitive or like what's like to base how I feel about my performance off of what other people think. I mean, if everybody's coming up to me and be like, that was dog water, like I mean, obviously it's gonna be like, maybe that wasn't so good, but I think that's been a huge thing and made me love theater even more being here. I think I've found a way healthier version of being confident in my like performing abilities, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That was a big monologue I just went on there, but thought it was appropriate.
Yeah. Dude, it's interesting the parallel with coming into high school for you and you doing Into the Woods, and then coming here and Rent being your first show too.
Dude, my mom says this all the time. Into the Woods was, I mean, it was by far the best thing we did in high school. Like, it was just, I mean, not to go to awards, but we won like every award for that. It was just such like a magical experience. The show itself is, I mean, that's like one of your top shows of all time, right? Like, you love that show. Mm-hmm. Just like what an experience. And like anyone who does that show has kind of the similar feelings. And then Rent, when I got here, same thing. Like, just one of the best shows ever. Like, music is fantastic, story's fantastic. A little problematic at times with our version of it, but like, it was just such a like spectacle. And again, like, I came into this place and my first show here was so welcoming with like a bunch of people and like upperclassmen, and my mom's like, Joe, your first shows in high school and college, you got good luck. Yeah. And like, those are her favorite ones. And like, just as experiences, like, they're some of my, you know, favorites too. Yeah. So yeah, it definitely is an interesting parallel, and I'm very blessed. Yeah. To have that. I
just made that parallel. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, tell me about the. I mean, you've already talked about a lot, but more specifically about theater in college and how that shaped your transition socially to college, but also on the flip side, more of the art itself. Like, you have grown a lot as a performer. I would say as a performer all around, but particularly as an actor. And there have been a lot of very like serious acting opportunities for you. So yeah, tell me about like social life about that, but also the art.
Yeah, I think in high school I had like two kind of main friend groups. It was like my Northvale friend group and then my like theater friend group, like mostly like the guys involved with theater. But here it's kind of mostly theater. I'm just involved in theater at a larger capacity than I was in high school, and I still have like great friends outside of that. But it definitely is like a huge social like aspect. Like my house I'm living in now and next year is like a theater house, and like we all do like different things, and our life isn't consumed by theater, but like that is how we all met. And I feel like there's this like narrative with college sometimes where you always sometimes feel pressured to not have these like forced proximity relationships be like so overbearing and whatnot, and like people will say like, oh, you gotta always like make sure you're like always, you know, spend time with people outside of your like hobbies and things that you're really involved with in school. Well, I think that's like totally true, and I like stick to it. I have great friends outside of theater. I mean, you're theater involved, but like you, like Mark, you know, at BC, and but and you know people at home. But I think I've just kind of found my people mostly in that theater circle, and it's been a joy. And like just the people coming in every year, like Liam coming in this year. I was living with Liam for 3 weeks. He's the GOAT. Like we just work on such a similar level. He's really been a blessing in my life. Yeah, and then kind of just with it as like becoming more like acting focused. I do think like experience in theater is just huge, and like the more and more you do things, like the better you'll feel about it. But I definitely do think towards the like beginning of senior year when we were doing like the 12 Angry Jurors show, that was one of my first like big like acting opportunities, and I just fell in love with it. Like I love singing, and musicals is definitely like my thing. But the thing I get like the most like intellectual, I guess, with is like the acting stuff, because and this kind of ties into like, you know, the mental health stuff I want to work with as a profession. I'm yapping. I'll wrap it up in a somewhat cohesive way in a second. I just think like theater and diving into stuff like that is, I mean, it's crazy to like for people on the outside to be like, oh, you're like just kind of playing pretend. That's just like a wild headspace to be in. But I think it's really cool to like picture yourself in someone else's shoes, and like it builds empathy. And then kind of in high school, I really wanted to just ensure that I was giving a good performance that people would like enjoy, and I would try and like copy like Broadway versions and stuff. But I am so against that in college because I want to, you know, have my own truths and insights from this stuff, and I think that's kind of helped me grow as a performer as well. And like both acting and singing is just like grown in my life. Yeah, it's a great question, and I could talk about that stuff, and I have talked about that stuff with, you know, friends and you for like hours on end, and just like how much it means to me. But yeah, that's kind of like a short kind of excerpt.
Yeah, let's go then. I want to ask you more about mental health, counseling, what you're studying. So you were studying applied psychology and human development in the Lynch School of Lynch School
of
Education and Human Development. Yes. Yeah, just tell me your because you came in as a psychology major, and then you switched into that pretty quickly. But even, regardless, like going into college knowing that you wanted to do that, kind of when did you realize kind of where you wanted to go work-wise in the future?
Yeah, I'm sorry if this is so dominated by me. I want to
no, bro, that's how I like to do things.
Pamper me. It's so weird, like there's sometimes just random days I remember where my mind just kind of got made up. I remember Mountain House in Sparkhill. That's like my favorite
you like the place.
place to eat. So good. I remember I was there with my mom. I think it was towards the tail end of junior year of high school, and for some reason I was just kind of thinking like what I want to do, and I looked up and I was like, I think I want to do like psych stuff. And she was like, oh great. I mean, she's a psych person, so she loved that. But I think just if I could say the biggest passion of my life, if I were to die like right now and had to have like one thing insured, aside from like being a father and like family and all that, is to be like a mental health worker with like adolescents probably, and just make sure that they feel seen and supported. Like as a kid growing up, I had such great experiences with like mental health workers, and they really helped shape me into who I am today. And I still like work with therapists and stuff like that. I think it's just there's such a stigma around it that makes people really scared to connect with it and go out and do it for themselves. And I think that there's also a lack of men in the field of like therapy and like mental health work, and it's a huge like representation thing, and not that I wouldn't want to work with women. It's just I always felt growing up that like I wouldn't feel seen or supported. And then I like met with my therapist in 6th grade who was talking about the Yankees, and I was just like, what is this? This is not there. Like, this is kind of cool. And we talked about the Yankee game for like 20 minutes, and that kind of opened me up a little bit. So it was just a huge pivotal moment and just pivotal theme in my life. And those ages of like adolescence are just like high school, like into college and like middle school. So they're so formative. And I think of like, I had a great time during those years, but there's definitely like things I regret. And like if I felt more supported, maybe I do some different things and reach out to different people. So just want to try and offer that to people similar to me or dissimilar to me, and just have that be like my life's purpose.
That's awesome.
If I could assure that, and that will happen, like I'm going to do that, I'm chilling. That's pretty much what I got. And performing, I want to try and continue that, but yeah.
You just said something very interesting. You said something like blah blah blah. That is my life's purpose.
Yeah.
What is your life's purpose?
I think as far as like career wise, that kind of what I just said. But like going into the like being a husband and father, that's huge. Like that's like just my everything.
Could you sum your life's purpose in like a sentence?
I don't know. That my brain is not very quick sometimes with stuff like that. So I don't know if I could, but it would include making people feel supported. It's going to be generic, and if I had more time, I'd probably tailor more specific things to me. But being a supportive husband and father, that's not like fragile and masculinity and like insecure in that, and just make sure my kids have a better life than I did, and I have a pretty good stinking life. So it's gonna be a tough task, but I think that's, you don't be a parent for your own reasons. You be a parent for them, and unfortunately, a lot of parents are parents for selfish reasons, which is just something that I completely don't want in my life, and just will not happen. I couldn't come up with a coherent sentence right now. It's a good question, but it's just a amalgamation of a lot of that stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where does a component of faith, soul, spirituality, something more intangible, something higher, where does that come into that for you in your life?
I was raised religious, and I've never, without a shadow of a doubt, thought that God wasn't real in my life. God is real. That's the afterlife. There are definitely some things in the Bible, and some ways some people interpret things that sure I disagree with, but I know for myself that is the case. I'm gonna do everything I can to get to heaven, and that's a huge force in my life. It's not something that's always at the forefront necessarily. It's what would God think? But I think it's kind of a backbone of a lot that I do. It's kind of subconscious. There's just, I don't know, and it's interesting. I don't really go to church, but I'm still if anyone asks me I'm religious, I say oh yeah, of course I am. I just can't, and it's not because of people's testimonies that heaven is real. When they die on their deathbeds and come back to life, they're oh, I saw the light, whatever. I just have known that since day one. It's never been something that I've and I've questioned things. I've thought about faith, but it's never been something that I've been no, that's not what it is. And learning about the Bible too, in class and perspectives last year was cool too. I don't remember a lot of specifics, but that was that stuff happened, and I fully believe in it. So I don't think I'm the most by the book religious person ever, but it's definitely something that's important in my life, and I pray all the time. I said a prayer today for a friend, and I think I pray at some point every day, or at least I try to, before I go to bed or when I wake up in the morning, especially when I'm at school, when I have a routine going. It's not only just a superstition, but it's just makes me feel good and assured.
Yeah. You're talking about the afterlife in heaven and saying you will do your best to get there. Mm-hmm. What do you think will get you there? I think just caring for people and understanding that mistakes happen, and not let's see, it's a great question. I do think I'm gonna go to heaven, but just kind of had a Could you say the question again? Yeah. You're saying that you want to do your best to get there to heaven. So what does that look like for you? Or what do you think that means? Or how do you think you will get there?
Yeah. I think a big part of me is, and this isn't specifically said in the Bible in these exact words, but I think a big skill I have is making people feel seen and heard, and I think that accomplishing that, and I think I've already I implement that kind of just naturally in my life, because I know how important that is, will help me get there. To me, like when I think of getting to heaven, I sometimes think less about like sins, like, making mistakes and learning from mistakes. I mean, we try not to make mistakes, but learning from them is huge. And having humility and understanding when you're wrong is freaking rough, but like you have to have that wherewithal. That was like in the leadership class. You're gonna love that leadership class, by the way. Learned a lot about that, but I think when I think about heaven, wow, what a sentence. It's more just about like general things that not only make me feel good when I'm doing them, but I know makes other people feel good around me and more confident, and just trying to, it's cliche, but like spread positivity and make people feel special. I think that, like, not to get too philosophical, but like we only have so much time with each other, and harping on negative things sometimes is tempting, but sometimes you gotta take a back seat and be like, is it really worth it? And just try and make people's lives, your own life and others, as good as they can possibly be. Not a super specific answer. That's a great question, and I'll keep thinking about it. But yeah, I definitely think more in those terms.
Yeah. No, thanks for your very thoughtful response. I think you touched on a lot of good points with humility, care for others, love for yourself and others, and also like having this grace for people. And what I want to share with you is that like God is the ultimate embodiment of all those things that you have been describing, right? Of humility, of grace, of love, of care. And what the Bible says about going to heaven is that this like beautiful narrative that the Bible displays is that there was creation, and that like God just really loved and admired this world, and especially when he created us people to bear his image, and then when sin came about, that we are not perfect, like as you talked about, and not to harp on that, but definitely I think that it is crucial that we acknowledge that, because I was reading like a thing today, only when we acknowledge how like broken and needy and how much we are sinners, that only once that is acknowledged do we acknowledge.
Good movie, by the way. Sorry to cut you off, but Sinners is a great movie.
Once we acknowledge that, only then can we see our true need for God, right? Mm-hmm. Only then can we see our true need for a Savior.
Yeah.
And so in perfect timing that God sent Jesus, his son, but also him in flesh, or we talked about that in the car before too, to live a blameless life, to demonstrate again these ultimate authoritative embodiments of love, of humility, of grace, now on earth, in human flesh, and then to die to bear our sin and shame, and then to resurrect and be like, this is what life can look like for you. I mean, we're not going to be perfect like Jesus, but if you just like, I find it incredible that, I mean, what I'm explaining right now is the gospel. Mm-hmm. But the incredible nature of just like reading that, and when I read the Bible, I'm continually, like, constantly amazed by like Jesus living that and doing that, and then all we have to do is like, so what God requires of us to go to heaven is to accept and believe those things, mm-hmm. with like whole heart, that God loved this world, that Jesus came, that he died and resurrected, so that if we believe that, we also can experience eternity with him. Why did I say all of that? I said all of that because when I asked you about heaven, that I want to encourage you to think about that as well. That like that is what God asks of us. That's not what He invites us into that. Like that God, I like the way it's said. That God invites, like all are invited to the table to feast, and now we, have to decide: do we believe and accept that, or do we not? And He loves us enough to give us that choice.
Yeah, it's, I mean, couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, it's just a huge thing in life, and yeah, just that like humility aspect of recognizing when you're wrong and praying for forgiveness of sin. Yeah, not much more to say there.
Yeah. Do you believe that for yourself, Joe?
Like forgiveness of sin, or
that Jesus died and resurrected, and if we believe in Him, we will also have eternal life.
Yeah. 1,000%. It's just what it is. Like, I respect all religions, and even if you're not religious, like my sister isn't really religious, and I debate her. I'm like, why? Like, it's just why. But I respect it. Like, everybody's got their things, but yeah, no, it's never been a doubt in my mind. It's just kind of what it is. And it's not like I don't feel like brainwashed or anything, because some people be like, oh, that's how you just grew up and you bought into it.
Sure,
whatever. No, like I've thought about it, and yeah, like that's just what it is for me. And it's beautiful. Like, I think also just at the bare bones of it, like believing in it, I do believe in it because I do genuinely like believe it's real and everything. But it helps me be more at peace with myself. If I wasn't religious, I would be scared of death and like the afterlife all the time. And like I am, the topic of death and like all that stuff is becoming a more and more real thing in our lives as we get older. Not that we're gonna die, hopefully. It's gonna be like a really sad edit if like I die soon, but that would be that'd be rough. But as you get older, like you just know people more that get into situations like that, and death is scary, but there's just a certain peace that when you believe in that afterlife component and Jesus and God, you're gonna be okay. And well, if you follow them, that's kind of the whole goal. Yeah, totally.
If you believe in the gospel, if you believe that Jesus died and resurrected, and that if you believe in that, then like everything will truly be okay. And I'd encourage you to, and you're saying yourself, like you're at a point where you're kind of like think more conscious about those things, thinking about those things. And yeah, I mean, I probably say it over and over again, but I'd encourage you to continue to pursue that love of God, pursue that truth. And just dig deeper. Because I mean, even
twist my arm.
Even
wow.
Even
sorry, I got a little carried away there.
It's okay.
My hormones are acting up.
Oh gosh. Yeah, because for me, like it has been the most incredible and fruitful thing to dig deeper into my faith, to see like what God has in store for me, to see like explore more of this love and truth. And yeah, it's just awesome to hear once again that you are like, that you believe in that you are also pursuing that. And for both of us, like God has so much more in store for the both of us, and He really is right there for us. It's a matter of us reaching out to Him. And you're saying yourself that you already pray and try to do so. So I'd encourage you to keep going in that.
I'm gonna please forgive me for touching his foot.
Amen.
Yeah. That's serious. I'm not trying to make a bit, but I just
My no, that's good segue.
how could that possibly segue?
By the way, we can so Joe and I can probably talk forever, but it is nearing my bedtime for tonight, and
it is 3 p.m. So
in that same vein, and to wrap up, I wanted to ask you how have you experienced God's love recently, and moving forward into this summer and junior year of college? How do you want to demonstrate a godly love and kindness to others and to yourself?
How have I experienced God's love? I think that there's this theme, and it's really hard, and I have a hard time like jump starting this, but like being comfortable in my own skin and like doing things for myself is huge. There was some, I think it was a video you made or something last year where you were like hiking and you were talking about like the importance of loving yourself and everything, and that's just whole thing. Like it's so simple, and everybody will be like, oh yeah, I do that, but when you think like, when's the last time like I sat down and did this thing like for myself? And I feel like I don't do that a lot. I really am. I'm fairly introverted. Like I can be extroverted when I need to be, but like there's just some times where I could really be doing things for myself that are great, but I just kind of choose not to. And there's this whole thing that I kind of realized probably about 6 months ago or something, where I was thinking about something, and it was like getting an emotion out of me, and my brain immediately went to like, how would this look on like a theater stage or something like that? Is this like a believable emotion and like what would people think like watching me? And if I'm playing basketball, I'm always in the back of my head like, oh, like how cool do I look right now to this car passing me or like something? And when I really realized that, it kind of freaked me out a little bit, because I was just rarely doing things for myself and like motivated for myself. And trying to experience God's love for myself is a huge thing. And I think I'll always be trying to give love to others, but that's been a huge thing, because if you don't love yourself, how are you gonna love other people? And that'll be a thing I keep working on and whatnot. So but that video was pretty big when I watched that. That was cool. So
thank you.
Props.
Yeah, deep pull.
Yeah,
that was good. I was just thinking about that because I'll go hiking tomorrow, and I was thinking about, because that was on my birthday last year when I did that. Yeah. And then because I had talked about the three kind of trifecta I talked about was physical, mental, and spiritual health. And then when Janine Kramer came to talk with us, her whole thing was mind, body, soul. And I was like, dang, yeah, that's lit.
Yep.
I almost cracked my toe.
Oh, do you need me to crack it?
No.
Okay.
I already cracked my toes, actually.
It's all good. Just wait for next time.
Any final remarks?
I mean, we could talk for hours, and it's been fun. Dream guest of my podcast. You're God, strike that one from the record. This has been really fun, and like
trying to, in the beginning of the podcast, I was like, this is my return to YouTube. I haven't been on YouTube in a minute, and I'm trying to not be as aware of the camera as possible. I apologize for any awkward cringe things I may have done. I will probably not watch this video because like sometimes I don't like watching myself back, but try to be as truthful as I could, and show me. Yeah, thank you for this. This has been a great talk. This doesn't really feel that different from like talks that we kind of just have in general. So I think you have a great like setup with this thing, and just appreciate it. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, I've been very much looking forward to this moment, so I appreciate you. Yeah. At the end, excuse me, at the end of every episode, I like to pray for
Here we go.
my guest.
Been waiting for this one.
May I pray for you at this time, Joe?
Okay.
Let us pray. Dear God, thank you for this time. Thank you for Joe, and thank you that we were able to recount and look back at our friendship and the ways that we have grown individually and also together. God, thank you that we've been so close for these many years, and God, that when you brought us to BC together, God, that was your doing, God, that was your blessing. God, you have brought us here together for many reasons, maybe some that we do not even fully understand, but God, that we are so beyond grateful to be here, so grateful for Boston College and all the ways that we have experienced the fullness of life these past 2 years. And God, that the ways that we have continued to receive love and share love and stick through in love and friendship with each other. God, that there are so many moments I remember coming into college and in these past 2 years where we've just expressed such gratitude toward each other for the ways that we have been able to be there for each other, to support each other, to love each other. God, that is all your love and your grace. God, that you love us so much, and that God, I'm so grateful to you for the absolute gift that Joe has been in my life. God, I pray that as we continue to move forward this summer in college and beyond, God, that we would continue to seek you deeper. God, as I said, that all of this is a testament to your love and your grace, and I pray that we would both really consider that, be intentional, be reflective on the way that you have carried us through our lives, and dig deeper, God, that, like I said, you have so much more in store for us every day. God, your mercies are new every morning, and I pray that we would seek that we would continue to be in relationship with you, be in relationship with others as we continue to, the way that we receive your love, to go out and share that and reflect that and bring more love and care and grace into this world. God, I pray for Joe and in his studies and in his pursuits within the arts, as well as mental health, counseling, education in the future. God, that you would really give him wisdom and strength. God, that you would really use him as a vessel for to share such love, to just be there, to walk with others, to empathize with others, to be a light unto others as he already is. God, be with him as he continues to be passionate about the arts and about theater and about connecting with others through this, through examining himself and the human experience through this art, and the ways that he has grown. God, that he has been attentive to, detaching himself from, seeking validation from others and allowing that to build his self-esteem. God, allow him to really love himself. And I believe truly, God, that means to know you and love you, and in that he might love himself through loving you and receiving your love, God, that you love him so much that he is a beloved of yours. I pray that he would know that, believe that, and really cherish that. And I pray that Joe would know that I love him as well, and that I'm here for him, and that, that God, that you have blessed us in friendship to be with each other and walk through life together. For that we are grateful, God, once again. God, just so much gratitude for this conversation, for all the conversations, and for friendship. God, may we have a great night. May Joe move back safely home, and really may we both enjoy this wonderful summer. We thank you, we love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
That was word for word the exact prayer I said this morning. Yeah, about you. Stars aligned. Beautiful. Such a weighted words. This guy.
Praise
it's almost
God.
like he could do a poetry out loud competition. That bring back some memories?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I didn't think about that in a long time. Right? That has been the episode. I will now go to sleep. And Joe,
here's a link to an online gambling site that Seho sponsors through Chi Alpha.
No, cut this. No. Nope.
He'll say he doesn't, but it's true. It's his new startup that he's starting. So go to the link below.
No.
And donate.
No. That's it. Thank you, Joe, once again.
That's not true, for the record.
And we'll see you all next time.